Welcome to Unapologetically Woman. We're celebrating phenomenal women all across Kentucky who make no apologies for their perspectives or the impacts that they're making in the community. Today we're celebrating Dr. Rachel Saunders. Rachel is an OB-GYN physician and an associate professor at the University of Kentucky College of Medicine. Unapologetically Woman, Dr. Rachel Saunders, that's you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
So, when did you decide that you wanted to be a doctor?
I decided at a very early age I wanted to be a doctor. I grew up under the influence of my grandfather, who was a veterinarian, and I thought eventually I would be a veterinarian like him. And when I was in high school, about freshman year, I had to do a research project on a potential career. And I started doing some research into being a vet and realized I really loved animals, but I didn't really like the medicine part. And so I didn't think that was well suited for me. But kind of during my research, I stumbled upon being a doctor and thought to myself, this could be something I really like. I love volunteering and I love science. One of my first toys my parents got me was a microscope. So we're a very scientific family. And so I did the research on everything I needed to do and decided this was going to be my career path.
So when you were playing at home, would you set the little dolls up and were you the doctor?
Definitely, yes. I definitely set up dolls and, came up with different diagnoses for those dolls. I also remember kind of going outside and just getting drops of water and looking at it under the microscope and just trying to see what I could see, and just really loved science.
And so you got that from your grandfather. And so he's a vet and you have gone in a different direction for medicine, but you have a thing for horses too. Did you get that from your grandfather?
Actually, he was a small animal veterinarian, but I was born here in Lexington, so I like to say that I kind of had a little bit of the bluegrass in me. And so when I was a small baby, my mom said she would put me out on the back porch of their apartment that overlooked a horse farm, and I would just stare at the horses for hours. So I've loved horses from a very young age, even before I could really appreciate them.
How many do you have and what do you do with them?
I actually currently have 3 horses because one of my horses just had a baby.
Congratulations, Mom.
And so I'm hoping, I do dressage. So I'm hoping that the baby will be my next dressage partner when he's big enough to ride.
How old do they have to be in order to be your partner?
So you're not supposed to really start a horse with hard work until about the age of 4, as their growth plates close and they're kind of able to really support the weight and the rigors of riding. So in the next 4 to 5 years is when we'll get them started, and hopefully I'll get to ride them for the next 20 years or so.
Wow. That's incredible. I would never look at you and think, oh, she's a horse owner.
Well, thanks. It helps me be very zen, because you can't bring anything from the outside world to the horses because they can sense energy. And so I think it's really taught me to be present in the moment and to leave stressful things where they are.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. So in order to get on your path of medicine, you started at Berea, but you guys didn't live in Kentucky at that time, did you?
Correct. We moved to Alabama when I was about 2 or 3 years old. And so I did all my formative years between 2 and 18 in Alabama, in Birmingham, because that's where all our family lived. And then I came back to the state for undergrad.
And so you went to Berea College?
Correct.
And then you decided that, okay, well, this wasn't an accident. This was planned by you because you knew you wanted to go to the University of Kentucky for medical school.
Well, actually, applying to UK was a little bit of a fluke. So I very intently was going to come to Kentucky for 4 years and explore the Bluegrass State and then go back home and be closer to family. And when I was applying to med school, I applied all over the South. And my academic advisor recommended that I consider UK, and I hadn't even put it on my list. But at the time, you're just applying widely and you say to yourself, what's one more school? So I put UK on my list, and incidentally, they had a cancellation in interviews. And so they were able to get me in. And so instead of it being my last interview of the season, which it should have been, ended up being my first. And so I ended up coming up here and meeting the faculty and just fell in love with the university, fell in love with the people, and the rest is history.
And this is where you are.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite thing about medicine?
I really like being able to change the health of the population. And so that's one of the big reasons I chose to be an OB-GYN, is because when you are a healthy mom, then you pass on those healthy genes to your baby. And so within a few generations, we could completely change the health of our population.
Wow. What does Grandpa think about you being a doctor?
Well, he unfortunately passed a couple years ago, but he was so proud. I remember on my med school graduation day, we took a picture side by side, the two Dr. Saunders in the family. And so it was a very special moment.
How cool is that?
It was very cool.
And your husband is a firefighter.
Correct.
So you've got a doctor and a firefighter. How does that work?
I think it actually works really well. We have enough similarities in our schedule with the 24-hour shifts and the medicine that we can talk about things, but we're also different enough that our whole conversations aren't dominated by medicine and patient care.
Oh, that I would think that could drive, because sometimes my husband doesn't want to hear anything about what I've done at work. Look, no matter how exciting that I think that it was.
Yes.
And so when you think about your patient care, what is the number one thing that you tell to pregnant moms or that you hope for pregnant moms?
I like to be their source of safety. So my specialty, I really enjoy working with first-time moms. And so I really want to kind of take on that burden of stress of, is this normal? Should I be worried about these things? And so a lot of patients say that when they meet with me, they feel at peace for the rest of their pregnancy because they know that I'm listening, they know that I'm paying attention, and I'm able to kind of take on some of that stress for them.
And do you think that being a female doctor or a female OB-GYN brings a different element of care when it comes to health care for pregnant women?
I think so. Studies have shown that women doctors actually have better health outcomes. So props to us. But also, I think it's just nice because I have the same lived experience. And so I can appreciate where patients are coming from. And I listen to them because I can really put myself in their position of feeling like they're powerless and no one's listening.
Well, and I think that having a doctor that listens to understand what it is that you're saying is really important when you're choosing a doctor.
Yes.
And so when I can just imagine when women come in, because I remember being a first-time mom, and that is incredibly scary and exciting and scary. Again, it is. And to have somebody that you feel comfortable with and that you trust, because after all, you are a 5-star doctor.
Well, thank you very much.
Look, hair flip.
Yeah, yes. I also teach medical students. I teach second year and third year medical students. And that is the biggest takeaway that I hope they take from my education is to listen to patients.
And so how did you get into that? Is that something that you wanted to get into, or you just, I'll try this out?
A little bit of both. I knew I wanted to stay in academic medicine because I really enjoy the behind the scenes work that takes to keep an institution of higher education going. And as I finished med school, I was kind of approached with the opportunity to work with med students a little more closely throughout residency and then once I finished residency. And so I did a little bit of kind of dipping my toes in and did some small group sessions here and there and really enjoyed it. And so over the last 7 years or so, it's kind of bloomed into me doing lectures for the med students. Now I run the OB-GYN course for the third year med students. So just been very involved.
What's the best part of that?
I would say crafting the next generation of doctors. I mean, it is a little self-serving because I want to make sure I know who's going to take care of me when I'm old. And so I want to make sure there are good doctors who are going to listen to me.
Well, let me ask you this. You just won an award, the Humanism Award for teaching. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel? And tell us about that award.
So that is a national award through an organization called ACTO, and that's the Association of Professors in OB-GYN. And so that is our national organization that helps us with teaching and helps tell us what content we should be teaching and in what way. And so my department chair and my clerkship coordinator, who helps me run the medical student clerkship, nominated me for that award. And it was just a really awesome honor to see all the hard work that you do be validated. Sometimes you just work and you say to yourself, I hope this is working, but you don't ever get feedback. And so getting that award and having someone say that they feel like not only am I teaching good medicine, but also teaching students how to appreciate the human aspect of taking care of patients, that meant everything to me.
Do you ever sit back and just kind of like, I'm Dr. Sanders, just kind of be in awe of yourself?
I don't think so. I was actually just texting a colleague yesterday about some research ideas, and he said, the grass doesn't grow under your feet, does it? And it took me a second to kind of think about that. And I said to myself, maybe I should take a little more time to appreciate and not just always be on the go.
Well, but always being on the go and doing things, sometimes that's kind of like just in the spirit of who you are as a person, to keep going and going. And I see this with a lot of women, women don't get to just do one thing. We do multiple things all at the same time. Yeah. And I mean, look, we kick tail while we're doing it. Let's just be honest about it.
So true.
And so for you to be able to do all of the things that you do and to do it with such care and grace and dignity, and service. And speaking of service, you are a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Yes.
So the grass is not growing because you guys are really busy.
Yes.
How does your connection with the sorority and the work that you do, whether it's paid work or volunteerism, how does that work all mesh together?
So I took a moment and I really wanted to reach back out to the community. I do feel like I do a lot of great work for the med school, but I felt like the piece that was missing was being out in the community and really helping and giving back. And so being with Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated has really helped me be able to fill in that piece that I feel like was missing, is reaching out to the community.
Well, and you have a lot of people that are standing right beside you, willing to do that work for the community,
yes.
Together. Mm-hmm. So that's amazing to me that you can be involved in all of those large things and then bring them back home.
Yes. And it's just so great to have a huge network of sisters that have the same goal.
And that goal is?
To make women better and also to make our community better.
Wow. I'm going to kick it to you for the last word for young girls or young women that might be looking to you, because when people see you, they think that this is the position that you've always been in and there's not a journey that's behind it. What kind of advice would you give to young girls, young women, who are looking and thinking, I'd like to be like her someday?
It's a really great question. I would say the advice is be ready to work hard and find a really good mentor. I've been so blessed to have people that have looked out for me, because it's not a journey you can do alone. And so don't be afraid to ask for help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys heard it from Dr. Saunders. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You can't do it alone. Continue to watch as we celebrate other phenomenal women just like her on Unapologetically Woman. We'll see you soon.